think tonality is so important for sure because it, helps your credibility with the customer. It impacts completely how your messages are received or even the way you ask questions. So I think tonality is very important. So yeah, I think how I'd go deeper here is, so number one, first we need to identify that the rep actually knows how their tone comes across. And I think that's playing back how they sound, how the type of response that is elicited by the customer is the first step. And then the second step is, just providing direct feedback.
Hi, friends. Welcome to the Sales Enablement Podcast. I'm your host, Andy Paul. Now, that was Nichole Porter. Nichole is the sales lead for retail at Shopify, and she was the winner, the big winner of ringDNA's recent Top Sales Coach competition. Now, if you hadn't heard about that contest, in it, we had sales managers and sales coaches from around the world submitting videos of themselves coaching some standard rep calls that we had recorded. And the public voted on who they thought the top coaches were. They narrowed down the field to a handful of semifinalists, and then our panel of esteemed judges chose the winner, which was Nichole. So in this conversation, I talk with Nichole about her rapid career progression at Shopify, and we dig into how Nichole coaches her own team members, and she shares tips about what she does to prepare for these coaching sessions. We also delve into the types of things that Nichole is looking for in terms of coachable moments with her sellers. So all this and much, much more. But before we get to Nichole, let me say that, as always, we are incredibly thankful and grateful for all of you who listen to the show. Without you, we are nothing. So we're humbled by your support and we'll work hard to continue to earn your attention in future shows. All right, let's jump into it. Nichole, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Andy.
It's such a pleasure to have you here. As we announced in the introduction, Nichole was the big winner of ringDNA's Top Sales Coach competition. And the grand prize, the prize that really mattered, was a guest appearance on the show. So here you are.
Here I am. Honestly, completely honored. Was a little bit of a shock to me because just from the other caliber of, folks who also applied. Yeah, I'm really just honored. So thanks.
No, you did a fabulous job. Fabulous job. So, yeah, I think that my my takeaway was the first time I watched your entry was like, oh yeah, this person's really good. It's just like, yeah, if you were a young rep being coached and mentored by you, it's like, yeah, you'd feel comfortable, you'd feel welcomed, you'd feel you're in the right environment. So congratulations. And we'll talk about that a little bit. So
for sure.
So tell us a little bit about your journey in sales. So how'd you get in sales in the first place?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I guess I'll kick it a little back. When I started out in university, really went into university not really knowing exactly what I wanted to do, like most,
like
young.
most of us. Yeah.
Yeah, like
it
most
hasn't
of us
changed
out
in
there.
decades. Yes.
Exactly. So, going into university, I came into it kind of taking a general approach. I knew I liked the arts, and I knew I wanted to dabble in business from taking various courses in high school. So ended up taking a triple major. So
Wow.
yeah, it was a long program. So dabbled in business, speech communication, and legal studies. Because essentially my parents were like, hey, if you're not going to be in STEM and you're not going to be a doctor, they essentially were like, you can go into business or you can be a lawyer. So I decided to diversify in the courses I took.
So basically anything but the arts is what they were telling you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So immigrant parents, my dad was a refugee. So really they wanted me to take a safe approach because they were like, hey, we made some sacrifices coming into Canada. I'm a first generation Canadian, and they just wanted me to have like a safe, successful career. So went to university not really knowing what to expect. Luckily, I went to University of Waterloo, which has an excellent co-op program. So what that means is I was I took my courses, and then every 4 months I'd be working at in a corporate job
Right.
at a company.
Well, those are
So
incredibly valuable too. My daughter went to Northeastern University in the United States, which is also very well known for having a co-op program.
mhm.
And yeah, and I've interviewed people from Northeastern who had done co-ops, and it's like, yeah, it gives you a big leg up in terms of sort of beginning to understand what the real world is like and what you want to do.
Exactly. So exactly did just that. I had my first internship was a legal assistant at Bank of America. I quickly learned after that internship that I did not want to be a lawyer, um, just because it just wasn't for me. And then worked at various tech companies, worked at BlackBerry for a few years, worked at another SaaS technology platform, doing various marketing and communications type roles. And ultimately, once I got out of university, I knew a couple things. I knew I liked working with people. I liked, the communication side of things.
Mm-hmm.
But really, what I knew, I, I guess, like all sales professionals, not everyone inherently is like, I want to be in sales. But I did know
No.
I liked being in front of customers. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and as a part of my internships, I had customer facing type roles. And I think after university, essentially I just wanted to move out of Kitchener Waterloo and wanted to land a job in the big city.
So how far
Um,
is Kitchener Waterloo from Toronto?
it's about just under 2 hours.
Okay.
So I knew that. I knew what my general broad skill set was. I had various communication and marketing type jobs on my resume coming out of university, which was great. And I ended up landing in my first out of university job, which was at a recruitment consultancy. But what was unique about this role was it was a 360 sales type role. So in this job, you're essentially doing the recruitment aspect of the role, but you're
Mm-hmm.
also sourcing your own jobs that you were hiring
Right.
for. So there
So
was a
full
business
cycle, yeah.
exactly full
Right.
cycle. So I loved it. I excelled really well at it after a year of doing it, and to be honest, it was a boiler room type,
Sure.
traditional type sales environment.
We all have to start in that type of thing. So
Exactly.
what were you recruiting for? What type of positions?
Digital marketing space. So
Okay.
yeah, worked across all kinds of different types of industries. But really, in this role, what I learned was some hard sales skills, cold calling.
Mm-hmm.
Really developed a thick skin,
Mm-hmm.
and what I found from this job is that I loved sales, and what I didn't like was the recruitment or the people. I guess the HR type component, talent portion of the role. But I knew I
The
kept
people part of that, yeah.
exactly the people
Right.
part of it. But I knew I kept wanting to, develop my career in sales and business development.
Yeah.
So fast forwarding a little bit, went on to ironically work at a law firm in business development.
Yeah.
So kind of going back to my, pre-law roots.
I
But in it,
just literally before we got on this call as to record this, as I was doing another interview with a person who started their career. They had become a lawyer, but he really found that he enjoyed the client acquisition part better than being a lawyer. So he spent a couple of years before getting into a sales role doing client acquisition for a law firm.
that's amazing. It's funny that you say that because so I was in the client acquisition side of the business,
Mm-hmm.
but what I found so spent 3 years here. I excelled pretty quickly. Ended up, managing business development for one of the largest portfolios at an international law firm. But what I found was I was missing the face to face component of the sales because it was more so business development through events, through, content curation, through,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, yeah. So really the folks who got the most face time with the clients were the lawyers themselves.
Right. Right.
So after spending 3 years here, and actually because it was more of a 9 to 5 job, simultaneously while during this time I also started my own business. So started a business running pop-ups in Toronto, so essentially pop-up markets where you know retailers or small
Yeah.
businesses would sell in person at events. So we try to target to, millennials, have DJs, have drinks, and have essentially throw shopping events in Toronto. So did that
Really?
as a
So
side hustle.
just not around the holidays like the Christmas and Halloween pop-ups we see all over, but it'd be an event, sort of a standalone event.
Exactly. And they were hosted around big shopping events.
Huh.
So we would have them in the spring when, folks would be focused on wellness. We'd have
Mm-hmm.
them pre-holiday were of course our biggest events. And then yeah, we would have them all season round. So
Got
that
it.
is kind of a sidebar of what I was doing on the side just because I was hungry just to do more. And that's when I stumbled upon Shopify. And really, what I was looking for after, during my law firm experience is I
Mm-hmm.
wanted more traditional sales again,
Right.
but in a space that I was passionate about. And because I started this side hustle working naturally with a lot of merchants and sellers,
Yeah.
I was
Shopify
able.
makes sense.
Exactly. The stars could just kind of align for me. And so I've been at Shopify for almost, or actually 3 years in February now. And yeah, it's just been my journey has lifted off pretty quickly. Started as
Well,
an
yeah. You've been promoted like 3 or 4 times already in that period.
yeah, so started as an account executive, and then within the 3 years that I've been here,
Selling to whom?
yes. So backing up a little bit, so selling to brick and mortar retailers. So Shopify, for those who don't know what Shopify is, we're a commerce platform
Mm-hmm.
to allow businesses of all sizes sell in person and online. So my team specifically sells to brick and mortar retailers.
Still, the team you manage today does that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. In North America, Canada, what's the territory?
Yeah. So today we are everywhere that we have Shopify payments. So essentially, UK, Ireland, US, Canada, and we're starting to dabble into Asia Pacific right now, which
Got
is
it.
interesting. So my team is just kind of selling everywhere at this point. But the segment that we sell to are SMB and mid market, and we're beginning to go up market.
So, mom and pop retail shops, as well as, yeah, it could be more established. You said sort of mid market. You're not selling to the national consumer brands.
Sometimes yes.
Oh, okay.
Our product isn't quite in the enterprise space as of yet, but
Okay.
I would say up to 100 million in GMV.
Got it. Okay. Cool. So
Mhm.
what's sort of the biggest challenge of selling into that type of environment? And especially, let's say, during the last 12 months.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I would say in the last 12 months, um, inherently retail services, hospitality are
Mm-hmm.
the industries that have got hit the most. We're in a lockdown here in Toronto, and all shops are going to have to be forced to close until December. And really, this is when retailers are making
All their
usually
money.
50% sometimes more of their
Oy.
annual sales or revenue. So it's tough. It's been a tough year for our industry for sure, or for the
Mm-hmm.
retailers that we sell to. But our team has been really able to pivot. Luckily, Shopify is a commerce platform, so if you physically can't sell in person because your stores are shut, you're still able to sell online. So
Right.
we have just pivoted the products that we're selling, and then for retailers, your stores are not your only mode that you can sell. Of course, you can use your stores as a distribution channel to fulfill your online orders, for example, or you
Right.
can also offer things like curbside pickup.
Yeah, I was going to say curbside pickup for people to come by and get it. Yeah, I
Exactly.
hadn't. Yeah, think about it because we're recording this 2 days before our Thanksgiving in the U.S. So yeah, I mean the big retail season kicks off in 3 days, and yeah, wow, I hadn't really thought until you just mentioned it that with the shutdown is yeah, it's one thing to be closed in March and April, but this is the time of year.
And it's a global thing too. In the UK, I think they've already been in lockdown and they will be in lockdown until I believe it's December 2nd.
Yeah,
And
December 2nd, they're coming out.
likelihood of that extending is likely probable.
Yeah.
So it's definitely tough for retailers who've taken a lot of hits this year.
Yeah, and are you finding though without veering too far off course, but are the small retailers able to take advantage of the platform to start doing curbside pickup and e-commerce that when they've traditionally been predominantly walk-in traffic, foot traffic?
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's how we've tried to pivot as well. Generally, like we're in the business of actually helping entrepreneurs. So um, the small wins are number one. If you're a mom and pop shop who've never shopped or who've never focused on online sales before, we're helping them get quick wins and start getting their products online. And
Mm-hmm.
then on the flip side, for those who still want to, have staff in their store, we're allowing them to immediately offer curbside pickup, and these are quick wins that they can recuperate cash. And then
And
even from a gift card perspective, I know that's a big source of
yeah,
revenue,
right.
essentially over the holiday season. Shopify allows them to use these retail gift cards online, so it's bunch of little strategies to help the mom
Yeah,
and
so
pop
they can
shops.
issue gift cards to members, and that's really interesting. Yeah. Do you help them like create a website for an e-commerce website and host that for them, or because that's I think for a lot of small businesses, retailers, they don't really have much online presence.
Yeah, so Shopify has tons of resources that are essentially you watch videos, very easy to get up and running. A
Mm-hmm.
strength is for sure just having resources that are easy to use, whether it be someone that just starting out or whether it be a big company trying to do a training rollout
Sure.
to their wider team. So lots of resources. We have 24/7 support. We have excellent launch teams. So when our sales folks hand off, our customers
Right.
to our launch team, they're in good hands there as well, and who guide them in the right direction and help them go live.
Got it. Okay, so how big a team do you manage now?
Yes, so I have a team of 8 right now, and so wasn't always that big. So I got just going back to my journey at Shopify, started out as account executive, got promoted to senior account executive, and then I just started managing or leading a team last November or last October. So it's just
Mm-hmm.
been over a year. Started out with a team of 4 and then slowly doubled in size.
Got it.
Mhm.
So maybe a bit of a loaded question, but relevant to this whole idea of our competition that we had is as at Shopify, have you received training on how to coach?
That's a good question, Andy. So I would say at Shopify, there is a lot of accessible leadership training.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, there's foundational sales training, and we have excellent enablement teams that enable us to coach. But from just a general coaching perspective, that's something I've had to learn, from my peers around me. I'm
Mm-hmm.
very fortunate to have great mentors. But I would probably say I had to invest a lot in myself this year as well.
So, yeah. So tell us about that. So because I think that's huge for anybody that wants to have a successful career in sales is to invest in their own development. So how have you invested or what have you invested in over this past year?
Yeah, for sure. So, first of all, took a lot of recommendation going into the role. I'm a very over prepared person. So, pretty much got every book recommendation, started listening to tons and tons of podcasts, whether it
Mm-hmm.
be general leadership podcasts or podcasts like yours, or just general sales podcasts as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've also taken courses. So, I took a sales management course at Queen's.
Oh,
Did
interesting.
Yep.
Now,
Um,
who taught that? Was it an adjunct professor, somebody that's a practitioner that's doing it on the side, or is it part of a formal sales curriculum they have at that university?
yeah, so it's a continued executive education
Mm-hmm.
program at Queen's, and they have they had various sales executives from pretty large companies.
Mm-hmm.
I know someone that was actually on your podcast, David Premier.
Oh, David,
He,
yeah.
yeah, he was a coach, he was a prof or an instructor
Right.
for that program. So really, really good set of leaders who were able to share their experience, provide some frameworks. So that
Yeah,
was super beneficial.
David's a smart guy. Knows his
Yeah.
stuff very well. Interesting. So I guess what inspired you to enter the competition that we had, the top coach competition?
To be honest, it was really introduced to me by someone else who was on this podcast, Nichole Porter. She's
Ah,
uh,
yes.
yeah, she's my manager, and she one of my mentors as well, and she just really encouraged me to um, get my feet wet. After being in a year in sales leadership, I thought, okay, probably something I'm not ready to take a leap on, but she was like, hey, I think you're great, you should give it a try. So I'm
Well,
glad she
interesting. Yeah. So Daniela's VP of retail, right?
Yes, so she heads our sales team
Right.
for retail. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, very interesting. Well, that's good. So hopefully she was proud of the result.
Yeah, definitely. She was like, "Okay, way to rep our team." She's like, "Way to make me look good."
Yeah, I was going to
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
big thing for her. Excellent. Wow. So how would you rate your strengths as a coach? Given a year of experience, what do you see as sort of like the places where you do a good job, and maybe the area where you think, okay, as I continue to grow in my career, these are the areas I need to work on.
Yeah, for sure. So I would say, just in general, I do, because I was an IC and
Mm-hmm.
was pretty deep. I was doing it for a couple years at Shopify. I would say my relatability to the sales cycle, and because I have a lot of acumen in the product, I'm able to
Right.
provide some credibility there. Um, Other strengths are, you know what I focus on as a coach is to help my reps learn and develop new skills. I think I've came a long way from when I started just over a year ago to where I am now, in terms of actually coaching versus just telling reps or giving reps advice. I feel like I've definitely made some leaps and bounds there.
Right.
But that's always going to be a thing. And I think, if for any new leaders out there who've ever read Accidental Sales Manager, they'll probably be familiar. But it's funny because the paradox of sales management is when you first get promoted, you essentially get paid to do less of what you were doing when you got promoted.
Yep.
So I was at the height of, I was number one rep, name on the trophy, doing so well. Everyone came to me to, ask questions for deal advice. And I thought when I first started coaching that this is what I need to do. This is how I'm going to immediately add value, is I'm just going to basically create a clone of myself on my team and just instill all the skills I've learned and
Right.
help them just crush as many deals. And that's
Onto this blank canvas.
exactly. And obviously that is not it at all.
Right.
So I learned that pretty quickly. So I would say my strengths are, for sure, just being able to tailor my coaching style to each of my reps, because everyone is so different, and learns differently. And then,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, uh, yeah, I would just say being able to apply what I've learned, because I'm so obsessed with
Right.
learning, to help them also um, develop those same skills and reinforce those same habits.
Right. Yeah. If you haven't done already, and this is actually for people listening as well, because if you haven't read both the books by fellow Canadian Michael Bungay Stanier, first one called The Coaching Habit, which is, to my mind, the best book about coaching that you can buy and read. And his more recent book, which just came out earlier in 2020, called The Advice Trap. And both talk about some of the things you're talking about, both short, very accessible, hugely successful books. Encourage you to read those. And everybody who's listening who's interested in becoming a better better coach, because it's your instincts, as you talk, you're on the right track. And these books will show you that coaching is more about how you help people arrive at solutions themselves, how you help them develop to the point where they become more self-sufficient in terms of how they
Exactly.
conceptualize their problems and what help they need what help they actually need from you. And The Advice Trap, great book about not running too fast to offer advice as opposed to coach people. So I think you'll enjoy both those. How often do you coach your team members?
Yes. So I coach every single rep on my team has at least a half an hour to an hour cadence with me every single week
Mm-hmm.
for one-on-one coaching. And then as a team, we are practicing as a team and doing role plays for at least minimum 2 hours a week. So we have 2 1-hour sessions, and then we also have our daily stand-ups where sometimes we do either a deal club or role play where we're also getting
Right.
in practice.
How do you make the role plays as uh, authentic as possible?
That's a good question. So typically what we like to do for role plays is we're getting real life examples. So if someone has an example call that they want to
Mm-hmm.
share,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and maybe they struggled objection handling, for example,
Right.
we'll take that exact same scenario and we'll just reenact. So we essentially assign three roles. One person is playing the sales rep, one person is playing the customer, and then one person is assigned as the key observer. And then of course after the role play is done, we kind of open it up to the group
Mm-hmm.
as well.
And curious is, after you've done one round, do you give feedback and have them do it again?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So with any coaching that I do, whether it be on a one-on-one setting or a group setting, before we give any feedback, whether it be the observer or myself or the rest of the group, we have the person or the sales rep who's playing the sales rep, of course,
Mm-hmm.
do some self-discovery or self-evaluation, and they give
Right.
themselves feedback. So what went well? What would they have done differently? So we do that, and then we open it up for other constructive feedback and positive feedback, of course, as well.
Yeah. One thing's in the your submission for the competition that I like that you talked about in the coaching was the importance of tone of voice, and it's something that doesn't get spoken enough about in sales. And I've had reps that I've worked with in the past, sellers over my career, that recommend they go take Toastmasters, right, and become a member of Toastmasters, because they have this problem with the tone of voice. They sort of get bound up a little bit, and there's a lot of sort of credibility and confidence that flows through the tone of the voice. I was wondering, how do you coach that?
To be honest, the most effective way of coaching to tonality is playing back the call and have the rep listen to it, and also have the rep listen to the response of the customer. And we do this in short snippets. And I typically just ask the rep, how do you think tone impacted the way the customer responded here?
Mm-hmm. Well, I even go a step deeper, though, is in terms of helping them, not just tone, because I think tone is sort of two things. One is sort of the tone in terms of how I receive the message, but I think the other, I was talking about more just the physical tonality of the voice as well. Is I've I've unfortunately worked with people who could have been good in sales, but the way they projected their voice and the way they use their voice, and this I think is a serious topic, just worked against them.
Yeah, no, I think tonality is so important for sure because it helps your credibility with the customer. It impacts completely how your messages are received, or even the way you ask questions. So I think
Mm-hmm.
tonality is very important. So yeah, I think how I'd go deeper here is, so number one, first we need to identify that the rep actually knows how their tone comes across.
Yeah.
And I think that's, playing back how they sound,
Yep.
how the type of response that is elicited by the customer is the first step. And then the second step is, just providing direct feedback and then showing them what good looks like. So either, in a one-on-one session, you can provide an example or just showing another example of a rep trying to convey the exact same message or the exact same set of questions.
Right.
And then it's the follow-up that's important after that. It's just role playing. And I mean, a person's voice is a person's voice. But once they understand how they sound, once they understand what good looks like, and they've
Mm-hmm.
received the feedback on how they can deliver, um, or adjust their tone or pitch, etc., then they can just practice. And once you're able to practice in a one-on-one setting, then you can go and send them off and do homework, and they can practice at home in the mirror, or
Right.
record themselves, or just listen to more of their calls. But yeah, it's definitely targeted practice is important in this case.
Yeah.
To
Well, and we have the tools and technology now to make it so easy to record yourself and look at yourself, back on video or listen to yourself on audio. Yeah, you do want to take advantage of that, especially if someone like yourself is coaching someone and says, "Hey, have you heard how you come across when you say this?" Or, yeah, I think it's underlooked, and I was glad you brought that up because I think I said, overlooked oftentimes. So, a question for you is along the same line. So
Mhm.
so if we were to, and this is hopefully a fun question, is if we were to survey your team, what's the piece of sales advice they would tell us they're most tired of hearing from you?
That's a good question. It would probably so what I try to nail down every single day is invest in yourself to get at least 1% better every single day. And the good thing is, we're at Shopify, and this is actually one of our core values is,
Mm-hmm.
own your own development. But we our reps are lucky in a sense that we give them so much. We have, I would say a world-class enablement team.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm not going to speak to my own sales coaching skills, but our sales coaches are here to reinforce the enablement programs that we ship out.
Right.
But we also give them so many resources, either internally or even just from a budgetary, monetary perspective, to go seek out, read books, buy the books that you want to buy, take the courses you want to take. So I would say probably the biggest feedback that they're probably a little bit tired of, because we're beating this drum every single day, is to invest in themselves and just get 1% better every day.
I love it. That's my watchword as well. Okay, last question for you. In your opinion,
Yes.
talking to new sales coaches here is what's the most important behavior for coaches to develop in themselves?
It's a good question. Developing in themselves, I would probably say this. Um, and I think maybe sales managers at other organizations, this may exist. I could be wrong, but this is just what I've
Mm-hmm.
experienced a little bit, is to focus less. I think as sales managers or sales coaches, from a business perspective, our mandate is to drive business results. But I think we need to focus less on the business results and more on the people. And how to instill that in themselves is to focus on lead measures versus leg measures. So the things
Mm-hmm.
leading up to the results. So leg measures are something that you can't impact anymore. So if you think of a leg measure of, I want to lose 10 pounds to fit in these new jeans,
Right.
the lead measures would be the diet and exercise leading up to it. So I would say when you're focusing on your reps on an individual basis, what identify the things that are the lead measures that lead to the results.
I like it. Very good.
Mm.
Well, good. Well, Nichole, this has been fantastic, and congratulations again on winning our competition. And so glad you're able to join us. If people want to connect with you, how should they do that?
Thanks so much, Andy. If they want to connect with me, You can search me up on LinkedIn, Nichole Porter, Nichole with an H.
Yes.
Yep. But I'm there and ready to connect.
Excellent. Well, again, Nichole, thank you so much. And look forward to talking to you again before too long.
Yes. Take care, Andy. Thanks for having me.
Okay, friends, that's it for this episode. First of all, I want to thank you for taking the time to listen. We're so grateful for your support of the show. And I want to thank Nichole Porter for sharing her insights with us today. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to this podcast, Sales Enablement with Andy Paul, on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you could also leave us a rating or a review and let us know how we're doing, well, we'd certainly appreciate that. You can do all that on your phone in less than a minute as soon as this episode is over. So thank you for your help. And thank you so much for investing your time with me today. Until next time, I'm your host, Andy Paul. Good selling, everyone.